The world of today would be unrecognizably different if the British had emerged victorious from the Revolution. The impact of that triumph would have cascaded down through the decades, across oceans, and around the world, transforming everything in its path. The British Empire would have lasted for centuries more, refashioning nations and nurturing cultures on every continent. The effects of a British victory on the world of now would have been profound and global. In this reality, America never broke away. Instead, the colonies were sailed up, and America remained under the British Crown, as one of the world's provinces. American history unspooled not as a separate course but as part of an ongoing epic. The absence of America broke two of democracy's four big stories. It stalled the onward march to self-rule and robbed democracy of its self-evident triumph. Without the revolution, Americans would not have established the principal modern justifications for self-rule. Thomas Jefferson's justification for revolution is still grand lyrical rhetoric, but our liberty story is more about individualism than equality. That means it has never been a great fit for nationalism, let alone a theory of equality able to illuminate the ascent of other nations, above all the Third World Caesars of post-1965 America. What would American life be like if we still were Britain? Where would we locate the absent centuries? The best answer is probably India. India of today, the democracy embattled by fascism and rampant inequality. Economically, this victory would transform trade, industry and the fortunes of America. In this imagining, the Industrial Revolution happens not in Manchester but in Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Those colonies that were Roman provided the closest thing to a full carving up of Native America. If they had succeeded to this extent, the Chesapeake colonies of Pennsylvania, New England, and Virginia might be to London and Boston the way Bengal and Ghazipur are to Calcutta in the still cockeyed economic order that is post-independence India. They would be agricultural fields sown with the world's richest genetic diversity, customer bases, and consumer markets. Culturally, if the empire held, this would affect the character and color and variedness of the United States. This would affect the consecration and corruption of American imaginations. But by far the biggest difference between then and now if we were still Britain is what didn't happen. From expelled Tories to Lucy Terry Prince to Louis Farrakhan, a significant number of global black Americans believe that they are the true and proper Americans, that ours is the African nation born in the English colonies 385 years ago. Imagine how much more true and how much more local and how much more relevant this sentiment would be if we had never claimed that our struggle for independence was somehow their struggle for liberation. Geopolitically, the consequences of a British victory would also be enormous. Britain would have conquered America because France would have supported its colony. And in retrospect, the French-American alliance was the transformative event of the 18th century. What made it transformative is what attracted a superpower to what appears in retrospect to have been a glamorously bloody regional conflict. From Canada to Cape Town to Madras, we all are still ultimate apocalyptic border warriors struggling to keep England and France apart. Britain would never have ended slavery. Perhaps much of Asia and Africa would still live under the British Empire, as parts of Asia and Africa did until just recently. If you dream that America had remained part of Britain, you are dreaming of 1770s Europe's first superpower, the conquered pole of its first legit balance of national power. In conclusion, if the British had won, everything would have been different. The consequences of their triumph would have been global, reverberating in the politics, economies, and cultures of every nation alive. http://alexanderhamiltonideas.us/artus://www.revolutionaduc. Today, even Britain. Wherever liberty rose after 1776, if it rose, if it was allowed to rise, it rose more on the strength of Jeffersonian than of British ideas. The world's wealth would have been concentrated not in property but in people, industrialization would have begun even more frenziedly, much earlier, and at a slower pace, a train borrowed not from Cromwell's England but from George Washington's struggling new country. The first car in this and most subsequent trains would not have been the steam engine but a New Hampshire textile mill. Given the American Revolution, at least the idea of liberalism was world historical. Its displacement worldwide would have other consequences far more bloody. A victory at Yorktown was or is the birth of the world.